Look at his shoes.
Not you, President. Director.
Speaking of fancy shoes and fancy socks, you're
That's
rocking.
what I'm just trying to do.
Hey, socks are a thing now.
Get some stiff competition.
Socks are a thing now, a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, 7:14 according to.
She's gonna. Okay, we will begin the finance committee at 7:14 p.m. As there is no quorum, the meeting will close at 7:14 p.m.
I forgot you.
Best meeting ever.
to say who's here.
All right, I ran to 7:15.
7:15, go.
Right?
Oh, I have to shut
Yeah.
off. Just in
7:15
time.
Horizon.
Look, just in time, Mariella. Just in time.
I'd like to call the Recreation, Public Parks and Buildings meeting to order at 7:15 this evening. And present are committee members Heeman and Scarl, Council President Broussard, Council members Gilchrist, Kelly, Williamson, our Mayor, Assistant Law Director, Human Resource Director, Economic Director, Safety Director, Service Director, and Recreation Director. We are here this evening to discuss 2022-38, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to request proposals for professional energy conservation services and consulting for reduction of city energy consumption and utility costs. Further authorizing the mayor, subject to approval of the Board of Control, to enter into an agreement with the firms selected in the RFP process. Director, would you like to start?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this particular ordinance takes advantage of provision within the Ohio Revised Code 717.02. It allows for municipalities that have capital expenditures to do so through what are called guaranteed energy savings contracts. The first part of the process is doing an RFP, selecting a firm to then come and evaluate the energy efficiencies of our buildings. This first phase of this project is going to be concentrated on building envelopes and HVAC systems with the goal of reducing our energy consumption, and so the way that the project works is the provision works. You have an investment grade energy audit done by a firm that's got special qualifications to do so. They identify ways in which you can modify your buildings and or upgrade your systems that would save you money, and so the pay for is actually the guaranteed energy savings contract. They actually guarantee the savings, they do the work, and then the city gets an upgraded building. So primarily this first phase we're looking at HVAC systems. We have the rec center HVAC system, the service garage HVAC system, the senior center and community cabin HVAC system. And we're also looking at building envelopes because we're having quite an issue with energy loss in Fire Station 2, particularly, I believe a little bit of Fire Station 1 as well. But the goal is to assess the HVAC systems in the building envelopes in phase 1 of this project and see what we can do to mitigate our energy loss, fund capital improvements, and that sort of thing. And this particular provision came about 2008, 2009, 2010. It was during the recession when a lot of school districts had a hard time upkeeping their buildings. So this provision was put into the revised code because you're able to take the money that you would save and bond that money out to then do the energy savings. So it doesn't add additional costs to the city, so if the systems don't perform the way that they should, the person who actually did the investment grade audit, they guarantee it. So it's backstopped by someone else, not the city's general obligation or the general treasurer of the city. So that's kind of the background on 71702 as a program and kind of phase 1 of this project, and hopefully as phase one is successful, we move into other phases where we can look at ways in which we can leverage the borrowing power that the energy savings would yield to us to capital improvements, improve our buildings, and be a greener city hall and city operations. So, and if there are any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. Okay, so like the cost of the service or the contractor to, to do the assessment, right? What generally, how do they do that? Is it, you're ending up paying a percentage of what they think the savings will be, or you pay a flat fee cost up front, an hourly rate? How is that all done?
So the way that I've seen it done in the past is that the actual investment grade audit is done at no cost to the city, and then when they go to do the implementation of the project, there's a fee that gets rolled into that issuance of debt that is,
Okay.
Sometimes it sounds, but that's how the
So the cost is rolled into the debt of the bond?
Yeah, but and it's not traditional like a general
Sure.
obligation bond. These are just taking the savings that you would get from reduced energy consumption, and that is what's paid for on that bond issuance.
Okay, and what kind of, I don't wanna call it statistic because we're talking about money.
Mhm.
But what kind of dollars have you seen in other
So-
uses, or maybe in cities similar size to us, or buildings similar
Yep.
size?
So I had a conversation with Director Michael Love out of South Euclid. South Euclid just finished using this particular mechanism to do a full update of their city hall. So if you've been out to South Euclid in the past couple of years, they've done quite a bit of work in and around City Hall using this particular provision. And so Michael thought that it was a really interesting tool within the revised code, and that it's something that we should look at. And when you have large capital expenses like the service department's HVAC system, I believe is something on the order of $600,000-700,000. I mean, it's more than that. So that's those are the kind of the big chunk things we're hoping that we're able to do with this particular program.
Okay, Mr. Scott?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Director Upton, with HVAC systems, I'm familiar with doing energy audits. I'm a certified thermographer, and I used to shoot infrared on HVAC systems, mainly for insulation purposes, because there was so much money lost in energy costs when things weren't properly insulated. And I'm not aware of what our city buildings are, but I believe some must have hot water heat, or is it all forced air throughout, that our insulation is not up to par in these buildings to keep it under?
So you probably forgot more than I know about this.
Well, I guess I'll find that out if I just went to the different buildings and looked in the boiler room.
Right,
where
right.
the
So
HVAC is to see.
The way that the program works is that we are then furnished with a report that delineates what all can be done and the savings that could be yielded from that. My understanding, based on conversations with the captain boatman, is that insulation is a big issue in Fire Station 2.
Yeah, because that's where you're losing costs.
We're losing a lot over there.
I know it's not steam heat, but hot water heat, whatever, and if it's not insulated, you're throwing money out the window.
And so when we talk about building envelopes and HVAC systems, both of the cases that you're talking about, the boilers versus the building envelopes, and how where money's literally going out into the atmosphere.
Could be windows, doesn't have to be, just a ventilation system.
Correct. So our goal is to look at the building envelopes to make sure the building envelopes are energy tight. I don't know if that's a real word or a real term in the industry, but that plus HVAC, and the reason why we kind of single out HVAC is because if you look across the enterprise, there are many of our buildings that need HVAC upgrades right now, and so.
Will the future include electrical, like all LED?
Yeah, I mean, so I've seen these folks, this program for cities that have a ton of lights, like traffic lights, street lights, convert all their lights to LEDs, do a lot of that stuff. But you can, it's almost Pandora's box. So we figured that we start with a couple of pilots and then move into future phases based upon our experience with this first go around. So,
Thank you.
and City of Worthington has actually done, a friend of mine's one of the assistant city managers out there, they've done 2 phases of it and they've really been happy with it. It's just a way to do capital improvements without hitting your general fund and improve your city facilities.
Are there questions from council? Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I would then like to at this time make a motion to recommend 2022-38 to all of council and ask for a second.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries 2-0, and I will conclude at 7:25 p.m. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We're still online, we're still live.
I'll get it in.
Still live until after coffee.
Okay, just following.
Somebody told me that camera might still be on.
It
is.
It is recording.
So the answer is yes.
You never know where you apply.
Yep.
It's curb lane.
I got, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then it's solid light, people, and then they're still turning right.
Okay.
I don't know what they're saying.
More side
Either make them both right,
She
so
wasn't
it's
getting
one
all
straight and right.
grad
and
parties?
one- Or, I don't know.
That's what I
I just
thought.
people from doing that. Unless somebody sits down or something. I don't know.
I'll check it out and then you can have a real
I don't have to.
Yeah.
So you get the memo about the top half. I'm sorry to give her.
Come on, that's wonderful. I'm gonna kill you.
What?
If I meant it.
Oh, for when you get one, I think it's good music.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. If you go by where she
I'll take him out to dinner because you know they're big wine.
It's okay.
I know, isn't that funny though? As if, she's like, no. But since I was already elected, I didn't change.
It's okay. It's all good.
And are you liking it over there?
You know, I go down there probably 4 or 5 times a week. So when I meet with, so I like, this is my 4th week, right? So I've already had I have weekly meetings with I was giving blood today. I was meeting, I told him, I sure, I'll tell her meeting, you won't give blood. You don't need to see so. And so I have weekly meetings with every division leader. She's amazing. She's amazing.
She's like, oh, like the answer right.
Well, you
And
know,
she finds you the service, she finds you the.
she's great. We're looking at, you know, doing some things, you know, for the kitchens, obviously. And, yeah, and there's speakers over there. I still have time.
Yeah, 7:45. Yes, we're live.
There's sound on. No.
With
So,
Rebecca.
yeah, let's
I love being a nurse. I do. I love what I do.
My wife used to love it for 2 years. I was doing this for.
I still love it.
Veterans Zone. He sent us.
Oh, did she? That's a nice place on there. She only have peacocks, I think?
Oh, yeah, they did.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Those things are scary if you don't see them.
I wouldn't get near them, but.
I'm always surprised.
And they're all male, too.
Isn't there one on Dover Road? I heard there was a peacock on Dover somewhere.
All right, thanks.
Yep. I don't know, but I'm really enjoying the social media tagging the white deer.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
There's a white deer running around the city.
One?
Yeah, just one, yeah.
Just one?
Yeah.
Just one deer?
No, one white, one.
It's
White.
like some spots. Yeah.
It's a special deer. That's
Yeah.
why they.
Alright, so I.
Yeah, so
That's
So
for
let me give you the last
for a few days.
You can pay me back. Alright.
They used to say that about the peacock.
Sorry. Alright.
If you go to Bayview, there's like a
And then
lot
you can own pay his own.
I used to live in Bayview.
He's making a big bucks.
Yeah.
I couldn't
They're
remember
mean.
if
You
I
gotta
owed
be
you money or
careful.
not.
No, you're good.
Over by the, soccer.
Oh, they're in my backyard, I see.
I get my grandfather's old compound bow and the thing would be down and smoking.
What?
Yeah. Council business.
Don't worry about it.
You miss it there?
It's making it.
You move over there?
This is what you.
Or you
I do.
I mean, one thing.
Oh, I.
Take one. Yeah. Last minute. No reasons given. Yeah. Grounding, detentions, timeouts, public humiliations.
Can I watch?
Absolutely.
Yay.
You can participate. Yeah. Certainly puts a wrench in a couple items. That's it. Mary was the lone holdout.
You know I am.
Just put her arm behind her back and she called on home.
You switched her between your phones. Right. Not me. That's a really cool feature. I'm sure I'd break it somehow.
For me, it was just all about convenience. I've always been a phone in the front pocket bag. This allows me to put it in my back pocket like a wall.
I love that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What brand is it?
Samsung.
Oh, okay.
So far, so good.
Remember when the cell phone was yeah, it was crazy.
Right, yeah, exactly. And they had to pull out antennas.
Yeah.
It was Motorola.
Yeah.
Remember, it was like holding a shoe to your face.
Yeah.
It was real thick up
But
here.
you
Then
were
it had
really
this-
cool if you had one.
Yeah, that's right. And it had a little thinner flip, and then it had the
Uh-huh.
I think I plugged, does it plug into our like cigarette lighter or something like that? Probably.
Yeah. Back when they were called cigarette lighters. What's the countdown, Max? T minus 4 days or 4 weeks?
Days.
Oh, wow, that's
Days. Tuesday. You don't count the day you're on.
Is it, is she being induced?
It's a planned C-section.
Okay, alright, so this is happening.
Yeah, oh, no, it's, if they're getting served their eviction on Tuesday, whether, unless they come beforehand. They're out.
They always have like the coolest socks on. But why are they trying to copy those shoes? I really need to know that first.
Cause I don't wanna be as cool as Lou.
It's called,
I was actually looking at Lou's shoes thinking like, I should buy those.
and he was saying I should buy yours.
Yeah.
You know, just
If
trade
they're size 10.
one and a half, and, I mean, I can squeeze into a 10, and you do a little extra room.
I'll grow into them. There you go. You know what's funny is when I got married 30 years ago, I was size 8.5. And now I'm a 10. Your feet flatten. And elongate. As you get older and heavier.
Things to look forward to.
And your bones start to
Yeah,
compress.
right.
So you get shorter and your feet get bigger.
Kind of like Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
So you got that stuff.
Yeah.
You have a hunch. More of a hunch. Big feet.
Control. The coverage.
What other colleges? Those are the ones. Ben too, like for national. He has another year, right? Yeah, he's a junior.
So go to the Fort Wayne School for boys.
Well, that's actually, that's an option that's on the table. But he's looking more at like international. Because
That's
they,
the way.
yeah,
That's the way.
and they will pay.
Oh, yeah.
So, we'll see. I don't know.
Nope.
He doesn't know. You know what I mean?
Well, so I was in the National Guard the whole time until I was activated and deployed. And when I was a private, our first annual training, they volunteered me for KP and kitchen duty. And we were out, I was within artillery battalion, when we were all the way out in the field. So we were sleeping in cots, or whatever, farm. So I volunteered for KP, I could get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and went out for the day. But like, the night before they took me, and it is the Air Force barracks that you have to sleep in. You have to shower, there was a mattress, air conditioned. You went the wrong branch.
Yes.
Because like, I walked in and I was like, I looked, a Marine, new, okay, Army was the next one. I never made it to Navy or Air Force. I walked in and said, I'm joining the military today. And I left. An appointment to go to medicine, do the whole thing.
Yeah. What time should we from the Marines?
Marines.
My nephew is
Enough
Marine.
said.
Hey, there was a platoon of Marines that were in our battalion that we reported to us, and when it hits the fan, no better friend, no worse enemy. So,
Yeah. Oh, nice. My grandfather was there too.
what theater? What theater? What theater? Pacific or European theater?
My dad was European.
My grandfather too.
My dad was
European.
Cuban. Actually, didn't born that
Have you seen pictures of the Rose Island?
It's getting all green around here.
You can see because they washed the windows today, that's why.
No, I'm in the trees.
No, I know, but you can actually see them. So the
Yeah, they were
windows are-
good, yeah. Oh, they washed out today.
Which one?
So they're gonna sort of.
I believe so. I'm in Germany.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's hope for the best.
Right, let's see. I'm tired today. I'm a school secretary. Yes, 100 kids. It's pre-K through 8. I'll tell you what. 6. Because they're like, moving to that place. And they either are going to be different at the next level or, with the little ones, they come in with a note from their teacher, and they just, their little heads barely come up the one count, and they just look at you. And it's like, the note is like, the teacher needs pencils. But they just stand there. Oh my God, you're not sure, do you need the nurse? What do you do?
Right, no.
Because they can't read, they can't read.
They're like, it's like a ransom note or something.
It's adorable.
It's cute. I always thought that would be fun.
It's busy, but my career was busy, so it's
Yeah.
okay, but it's just,
It's a nice break from the stress that we have.
it's a different case.
It's probably worse now.
Welcome to the council for caucus in there, and then the main meeting is in, the bigger room. The caucus begins at 7:45, and the regular meeting is at 8. Caucus will be open. And, this is the regular meeting.
Not too bad. They don't have the minutes of the previous meetings, the past meetings, right?
Yeah, what do you mean, why do they, I mean, you can get minutes from any.
What's the next?
No, because these should be up there, with the.
Oh, they're not.
I haven't caught up yet.
Oh, she's not caught up.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
There's the answer.
Okay, there's the answer.
There's the answer. 'Cause
I've
I was
been
kind of
doing
like,
all the training, and so now
Ryan.
I'll start freaking them out now.
Okay. Yeah, because the meetings, like, let's say it's like George Schmoke from Kokomo is,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
complaining about, like, red lights or something,
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm getting to them. They're way behind, so.
okay. You're hilarious.
And go down Brook Park and 130th or whatever it is. You just want those right through a red light. all the traffic is coming off the highway. I'm sitting there with passengers. I'm thinking I'm about to get T-balled. As they're riding, you're gonna have to teach yourself how to drive. I don't want to think proper.
Usually,
That is a red light.
Now that you can look back.
yeah, if you haven't gone through it in some way, it's an argument.
I
know, right? Yeah, that would be like. I'm not giving this report to
Same thing.
Against capital audits.
Same day or different day? Same day.
And it's kind of, it's all these pieces.
I'm a little bit over my head right now, because I'm not.
It's funny. Just what, just three?
But I want to be able to explain it.
Okay.
So I'll have that.
What'd you do? I don't know. I don't know. CA? Something check. CBR. Runs something. I honestly don't know what it does. I asked him, he tries to explain it, I have no idea. Okay, never mind.
The caucus meeting of May 4th, 2022 will now come to order at 7:46 p.m. Present are council members, Heaton, Scarl, Kelly, Williamson, Gilchrist, the mayor, assistant law director, directors Pinchek, Upton, Kidd, and Schofield, Carney, and guests. Before we move on to talking about items that are being asked of suspension, there are 3 items that were originally to be discussed in finance this evening. And that would be resolutions 2022-31 and 37, as well as ordinance 2022-36. We did not have a quorum, as you know, and so we have 2 options before us. The first option would be to remove these items from committee and advance them all to second reading. And then the second option would be to remove them from the agenda, and then the administration would have the option of reintroducing, and likely all 3 would be on suspension upon reintroduction. I know that one of them has a timing element to it, and so on the drive-in, I did talk to Finance Committee Chair Glassberg, and I asked him his preference, and he is okay with removing from committee and advancing to second reading. So, does anybody have an issue with that option? Because now's the time to discuss it before we move into our meeting. Good, okay, all right. So then that's what we'll do. So we'll make a motion on the floor. There is one item on the agenda being requested for suspension, and that is resolution 2022-37 on second reading. Mayor Jones, would you like to talk about this one?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the legislation that council would allow the administration to enter into a contract with the firm selected in the RFQ process for the professional consulting services for the development of our strategic economic development plan. This was discussed at length back when the original legislation was brought to council. Funding was secured for this through the American Rescue Plan, which was also authorized by council, and we're just asking for council to consider suspension on this for this evening so that we can enter into that contract as soon as possible.
Very good. Any objections from council to suspension on 2022-37. Okay. Sounds good. Moving on to assigning legislation, ordinance 2022-42 will be assigned to public safety, health, and welfare. Ordinance 2022-43 will be assigned to finance. Resolution 2022-44 will be assigned to streets and transportation. And then resolution 2022-45 and ordinance 2022-46 will both be assigned to public safety, health, and welfare. So with that said, we'll move on to scheduling committee meetings for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Councilwoman Williamson, in Councilman Glassburn's and Councilman Lippard's absence, would you like to schedule finance?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
So we'll do the,
So for safety, you want to start with safety and then we'll move into finance? Is that what, am I
I
hearing you
don't
right?
mind, either way. We can start with finance first.
Okay.
How long do we need for that meeting? Does anyone tell me?
I'm sorry, Ms.
For 43.
43, so that is accepting, a grant. I would think maybe 3. I hope.
Alright, so we'll do finance at 7 to 7:05.
Very good. And then we'll just go right into public safety, health, and welfare.
And then, what about streets?
That's a good idea. Let's do that
first,
We'll finish
next.
with public safety. So Councilman Kelly, streets and transportation for 44.
Schedule that for 7:05 PM. And who is gonna represent the city on that?
Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully request maybe having that committee at a later time. Next Tuesday, my wife is scheduled to have her C-section for our twins, so I'll be a little bit busy. I'm wondering if it'd be the pleasure of the chair that we have a committee after the second reading as opposed to after the first one that's kind of out of order, or delay the committee for a week or two, and request it be the pleasure of the chair that we do a virtual committee meeting since that is allowed through the end of this year.
I'm fine with holding a committee for an extra week.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Mr. Chair, would it be okay to have that committee as a virtual meeting as well?
That would be the 9th, 2nd, yeah.
We would just have to have any other committee meetings that we schedule that evening, those would also be virtual.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That'd be the 29th, right? No,
No,
10th would be May 17th, that's
That's a council
that's
meeting.
a council meeting night too.
yeah, all right, so we can't do virtual.
So there's a public hearing on a virtual public hearing on the 24th for another matter before council as well, relative to the phase development legislation in the commercial district. So that particular legislation requires a public meeting, and that's virtual already. Mr. President,
It's fine.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Okay, then we will schedule a public safety, health, and welfare committee at 7:05 PM for 42, 44, 45, and 46.
Excellent. All right, does anyone on council have anything else they wish to bring up this evening? Anything from the administration?
No, Mr. President.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes,
what time is our virtual meeting on the 24th?
Chuck, do you have right now?
7 o'clock? 7?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Thank you.
All right,
Question on that? Is that gonna be, do you think that's gonna be a long one?
I don't believe so, Mr. Chairman.
We could put streets first if you wanted to, because that's gonna be a short one, I think. I don't think streets.
So I would probably err on the side of caution that we might want a little bit more time for questions. The proposal's pretty substantive.
All right, sorry.
No worries. That's why we have caucus, talk through it. Mr. Massarola.
Just for that night of the public hearing, you would also be having the BZD meeting, I think afterwards, to discuss what was discussed in the public hearing.
Mhm.
So it'd be at least 3 meetings after that.
Okay, alright. Alright, so seeing nothing else, the caucus meeting of May 4th, 2022 is adjourned at 7:55 PM.
How you doing? How you doing, Kevin? Good.
She has one of those.